Hello, this is chapter 13, and we're going to be talking about the endocrine system now. Okay, let's try to find this here. Slideshow. There we go. The endocrine system, this should be a review for you because we talked about this in tissues. Endocrine glands are going to be glands that have cells, tissues, and organs that are ductless. They secrete hormones into the bloodstream. Endocrine means internal secretion, and so it secretes hormones that will act on target cells or specific cells. Exocrine glands are glands that secrete into ducts or tubes that lead to the body's surface. There are glands that secrete messenger molecules, including paracrine secretions and autocrine secretions. That's an example too. Here's our endocrine system. The endocrine glands will secrete hormones into the bodily fluid. Endocrines will secrete into the bodily fluid. Exocrines secrete to the outside, like the sweat example here. Often the nervous system is paired with the endocrine system because they communicate together. Both systems communicate via chemicals that bind to receptor molecules. The nervous system releases neurotransmitters into the synapses, and the endocrine system releases or secretes hormones into the bloodstream. So if we look at this chart here, we can see the cells, the chemical, the action, but this is interesting, the speed. In the nervous system, this is within seconds of the speed of onset, but in the endocrine system, it can be immediate or within seconds, but it can also be within hours. So same with the duration of action. Usually in the nervous system, it's brief unless that neural activity continues. With the endocrine system, it may be brief, or it may last for days, even if that secretion ceases. Here is another visual picture of a neuron sending an impulse, releasing a neurotransmitter in the synaptic cleft, and that postsynaptic cell responds, which is a skeletal muscle here. Here's a glandular cell secreting hormones into the bloodstream, and then it's going to go to target cells on the receptor. And hormones have no effect on other cells, only on the target cells. Endocrine system is precise in that only target cells are responding to that specific hormone. Target cells contain particular receptors for the hormone, and these receptors are not present on other cells. Our major organs are not physically connected. Many hormones are produced by larger endocrine glands like the hypothalamus, the pituitary gland, the thyroid gland, the adrenal glands, and the pancreas. Some hormones are produced by small groups of specialized cells. Hormones are released into an extracellular spaces around the endocrine cells, and then it uses diffusion into the bloodstream for distribution around the body. Hormones are organic compounds, and there are two types. We have steroid or steroid-like hormones, and these are lipids containing complex rings of carbon and hydrogen atoms. All steroid hormones are produced from cholesterol. Examples of steroid hormones are your sex hormones and your adrenal cortex hormones. Non-steroid hormones are derived from tyrosine, epinephrine, or epinephrine. They are proteins composed of long chains of amino acids, like growth hormone. They are peptides, which are short chains of amino acids, like oxytocin, or they're glycoproteins, which are carbohydrates joined to proteins, like thyroid-stimulating hormone. Hormones exert effects by altering metabolic processes. They may alter an enzyme activity, or they may alter the rate of a membrane transport of a substance. Hormones deliver messages by binding to the receptors on the target cell. The number of receptors determines the strength of the response and can be changed to alter the response. Upregulation means an increase in number of receptors on the target cell in response to a decrease in hormone level. Downregulation is a decrease in number of receptors on a target cell due to an increase in the hormone level. Steroid and thyroid hormones have poor water solubility because they use lipids. They can diffuse through the lipid bilayer of your cell membranes. Thyroid hormones are thought to enter the cell by specific transport methods and bind to receptors on the inside, usually in the nucleus. So the next couple pictures showing how hormones enter a cell is what you're tested on. In this chapter, we will not test you on the organs and the hormones that it produces. We want you to know more about how the hormones function. So here is showing us a steroid and thyroid hormone. As it approaches the cell membrane, because it's a cholesterol chain, it's going to go through that lipid bilayer. And then once it's internally, that will combine with the protein receptor in the nucleus. That hormone receptor complex will then activate the production of specific messenger RNA molecules. Those messenger molecules will leave the nucleus and enter the cytoplasm, and then it's translated out there on a ribosome, and which will lead to the production of encoded proteins associated with that hormone's activity. Non-steroid hormones cannot penetrate the lipid bilayer because they are not made of lipids. They bind to the receptors on the surface, and so a hormone is considered a first messenger. Chemical that induces changes leading to hormonal effects is considered a second messenger. Many hormones use cyclic adenosine monophosphate, or CCAMP, as that second messenger. So you can see it looks a whole lot different than that last picture. Here's our non-steroid hormone at number 1. It reaches the cell and it's going to bind to a receptor molecule there on the cell membrane. Then the hormone will bind, that binding will activate molecules of adenosine cyclase at number 3. Then through number 4, that CCAMP conversion will happen through energy, with the help of energy, And then at number 5, the CCAMP activates existing proteins, causing a series of reactions leading to that cellular change associated with whatever that hormone needs it to do. Hormonal secretion is primarily controlled by negative feedback. Hormone effects can be short-lived, a few minutes, or it may last for days. Hormone secretions are precisely regulated, and they're excreted into the urine after exerting their effects. Hormones can be broken down by enzymes, mainly from the liver, to stop their effects. There's a small number of cases of hormone control involving positive feedback, mainly in the reproductive system. The main method of control of hormone secretion involving negative feedback system. The control mechanism is in which rising level of the hormone leads to a decrease in hormone secretion. There are 3 methods in which negative feedback controls hormone secretion. We have tropic hormones, which are hormones that act on other glands to help regulate their secretion. Nervous system control, which is the nervous system directly stimulating some glands to secrete their hormones. And changes in composition of internal environment. So changing levels of substances in the blood, like glucose, will stimulate and inhibit secretion of certain hormones. So here is that flow chart. Here again, this is from chapter 1, our negative feedback system. Negative feedback maintains a relatively stable hormonal concentration over time in your body, even though they fluctuate slightly around an average normal concentration. As we age, the endocrine glands will decrease in size. The muscular and skeletal strength will decrease as growth hormone levels decline. ADH is a hormone that will increase due to slower elimination by the liver and kidneys. Calcitonin levels decrease, so you have more of a risk of osteoporosis. Parathyroid hormone levels changes contribute to the risk of osteoporosis also, and insulin resistance may develop. Changes in melatonin secretion can affect your internal clock, and thymosin production decreases, which gives you an increased risk for infection. Now, we won't be testing you again on the organ structures and their hormones or their effects, but it would be advisable for you to read them, especially if you're going into ANP2, because you're going to start with this chapter in the beginning of ANP2. So, again, we want to know if you know how the hormones work. And later on, you will learn the names of them. That's all for chapter 13. Thank you.